Hey, how you guys doing? So in this video, I'm going to show you why HPS and metal halide are the best lights to use, even when you're trying to grow cheap for like only $50. Some people will be like, hey man, go buy this thing right here, for, 60 bucks, whatever, and grow your weed with that. Okay. I'm going to show why not to do that, why it's better to actually grow with this thing for 57 bucks, 150 watt metal halide. All right, or excuse me, HPS bulb. Right, so first thing is, this is brought to you by my website, growpotcheaply.com. It's pretty cool. Check it out. I'll be putting up some written articles and stuff to you about how to grow and all that kind of stuff. But there's links to different videos and playlists and all that good stuff as well. So it just kind of organizes things. So first thing is, with CFL, let's look at that CFL bulb. I don't have it up yet. So let me go ahead and I'll go ahead and grab it up here in just a second. What you really do is you just type in, let's see here. Sorry about that. So anyway, I typed in 600 watt CFL bulb. Now this is a 64K spectrum. Now the higher you go in spectrum, the slightly better lumens you get per watt. So if you're growing like this would be for vegging. If you're growing like anywhere in the 2000K mark, that's more for flowering, that you'll naturally get a lower lumens. The more lumens, the more plant growth, right? The more lumens equals bigger growth, bigger plants, bigger yields. So this thing here, as you can see, only has 10,000 lumens. That's for a bulb that uses a true 200 watts. That's what it actually uses. This is equal to, supposedly, a 600 watt bulb in brightness. No, I guarantee you not. 10,000 lumens. Watch this. Let's look at just a 150 watt. Now it's trying to compare it to a 600 watt bulb. Now the 600 watt bulb it's trying to compare it to is probably a regular standard house light, not an HPS. Because check this out. When you look at an HPS, this is only 150 true watts. That's how much wattage you're actually using. You're getting almost 16,000. Now this is a much, this is 2100 Kelvin. If I were to look at the metal halide, it'd be over 16,000. That is going to the damn it, what was I thinking? Okay, it's not right there. Anyway, going to the 16 or the 6,000K, it's going to go over, no problem. Look at this one right here. This particular brand is running 16,000 and it's 2,000 Kelvin, which is pretty crazy. I don't know if you can see that right there. Bam, 16,000 initial lumens, and I mean initial meaning the beginning of its life. Now the lifetime hours is 24,000, whereas with the these ones here, it's like 10,000. I don't know if this one says it, but there's another one I was looking at that tells you the life of them. They're about 10,000. Right. So what you notice here is you're getting 6,000 more lumens for, and remember, now this bulb uses 200 watts. That's how much wattage it actually uses from your wall, right? It's supposedly equal to 600 watts, but this is how many watts it actually uses. So here you are, you're drawing 200 watts to feed your plants only 10,000 lumens. Another problem with that is this light bulb cannot go very far away from your plant. So there's a very short footprint for your plant. You can grow like one plant with it. And why is because the footprint is so tiny. So even when you use this this thing here, yeah, you can get a decent footprint out of it if you raise it higher, but the CFL does not have good penetration. I mean, it doesn't, after about 8 inches, it loses its lumens very quickly and becomes almost useless to grow with. So you have to grow with it like right on top of your plant almost, like literally like 8 inches above the plant. Whereas with the 150 watt bulb, you can actually grow with this like a good 12 inches. Matter of fact, you probably need it about 12 inches away from your plant so you don't burn the plant. And you're going to get nice, good yields because HPS has a much better penetration. It's hard to see that bulb. There you go. And so this right here, for $57, this is the whole entire system. This is plug and go and ready to go. It has the mogul and everything you need already there. It has the hood you need, has all the plugs you need, the wire you need, the cable you need. It has the ballast. Everything is included. You just plug this thing in and you go. So it costs you around the same price as this other product, which is far more inferior. So a lot of people want me to do like a closet grow with one of these. Now the other thing is, well, what about heat? Believe it or not, this thing actually produces a good amount of heat versus this one over here. I'm going to get out of the picture there. Oops, wrong thing. Now, if you can afford to pay more money, like anywhere near the 200 price mark, you might as well go with the 400 watt. Then you're starting to concern yourself with heat. But with the 150 watt grow light, you're not concerned with heat, honestly. The amount of heat this thing produces is very little, and growing with one of these heat-wise isn't really going to help you much. Growing with LED also, when you're using the same amount of wattage, you're pretty much producing around the same amount of heat. So 200 watts is pretty much 200 watts. Now LEDs are a little bit more efficient, but even if you're running an LED that actually runs 200 watts, remember this thing is running, well this one here I think is running, I'm not really sure, I think this one here is only running 125 true watts. So, but the bulb you want to get if you're going to go with one of these is going to be the bigger bulb. You don't want to get one of these that uses a true 200 watt. But either way, and it doesn't really matter because the other one's even weaker. So this one here, the 200 true watt CFL is only 10,000 looms. So that one over here, this is going to be much weaker. This isn't going to grow nearly as much. But anyway, so yeah. Now let's look at LED for a second. Well, first let's look at this. I want to show you something interesting. If you were to grow with a bunch of small bulbs, the 23 watt bulbs, which is equal to a 100 watt incandescent bulb, let's say a 27 Kelvin, which is pretty good for flowering. It has 1600 looms. I don't know if you can see this right here. Right, so it has 1600 initial looms. That's for one light bulb of 23 watts. Well, in order to get the amount of looms you need, or the amount of watts, because we're going with about 150 watts. That's what we're trying to use, right? Since we're comparing it to the 150 watt HPS light bulb. Now, really quickly, one thing you might be thinking was, well, with the HPS light bulb, what about like vegetative cycle? Just add a few, like the lighter colored Kelvin CFL bulbs, and plug them into some just cheap, little metal lamp things you can buy from Walmart with the little metal that clips on them. You can clip them wherever you want to. Now you can clip them inside your glow room, and then that way they can have that spectrum. Just clip them to the sides. Bam, they got the spectrum they need. Put two of these bulbs, or even the 13 watt bulbs, on a splitter and put it inside that lamp, and then put that on each side of your plant. And now they have a more full spectrum on top of the 150 watt bulb, and it's in a veg grade. Anyway, so we're talking about for the price, though. We're trying to go very, very cheaply, and we're trying to get as much looms as we can for our money. That's always going to be HPS or metal halide bulbs, period. So even with these bulbs, these are more efficient, believe it or not, than that big hunker right there. So what you do, and it's about the same price, what you do is you can go to Walmart and buy packs of these. You'll need, you might want to buy a couple light ones to mix in there. By light, I mean the higher Kelvin, like a 5,000 to 6,000 Kelvin. That's more in the vegetative state. That way you have a more full spectrum hood. You can make a hood out of a power strip cable. Those power strips, power savers, whatever. They have like 6 plugs in, whatever. And then you buy the splitters that plug into there, and they split off to a Y. You can screw light bulbs in, and then you can screw 2 light bulbs in each one. You can make a strip to have like anywhere from 6 to 8 bulbs, depending on how you build it. Then just buy a little extension cord, and bam, you got yourself a little hood. You can use white plastic, works great on top of it, and that reflects the light good. I actually had one built like that with I think only 6 bulbs or 8 bulbs. I can't remember. I think it was only the 13 watt ones, and at about 6 to 8 inches away, it was like at 60,000 lux, which is perfect. I grew one white widow with it, regular plant, and actually grew really good. Believe it or not, though, this gives you more bang for your buck here, or more bang for your watt rather. So if you do the math really quickly here, what you're going to get is using 7 of these, which brings you at 161 watts or something like that. Anyway, so that's the closest you can get to 150, and that gives you the lumens was man, I don't think I can is 11,200, right? So if you grow, that is, you're using the same amount of electricity, actually you're using more electricity. So you're using about 11 watts more electricity building one of these. So, but you would need 7 of these bulbs to produce 11,200 lumens, right? Whereas with a 150 watt metal halide, you're getting 16,000 for only 150 watts. So for 11 watts less, you're getting 16,000 rather than 1,100. A lot more looms means bigger plant life. Also, again, metal halide and the HPS penetrate deeper, right? So that way you can have it further away from your plant and it penetrates deeper, meaning you're going to get a bigger footprint of your plant and you're going to get more lumens everywhere all over the plant, even deeper down into the plant. You train the plant under one of these bulbs, you can actually get a pretty good yield. This is what I'll be using when I do my Ghetto Grow out of a closet. I'll be using one of these. I won't be using one of these because I know what does better. So, no reason of wasting my wattage for no reason. So, but even these, though, you can see are better. So these, see, now you might think, well, what about heat? Believe me, 7 of these produces about as much heat as this thing. So whether you're using the metal halide 150 watt or you're trying to use the equivalent amount of watt in CFLs, whether it be a big CFL or small CFL, doesn't matter. Now, how many of these do you have to use to actually equal one of those? So these are 10,000 looms, right? So you're about 6,000 off. And you're using 50 watts more. So you need to run like 2 of these or 2 of the 150 watt ones to equal one of these, right? To get the same amount of lumens. The problem is by doing that, you're creating about the same amount of heat. So you're still having to deal with heat. These things, honestly, hardly produce any heat at all, these little 150 watt ones. And they're plug and play, ready to go, rock and roll. With one of these, you can grow a good sized plant. Maybe even 2 decent plants. Anyway, so you're just better off if you're doing a Ghetto Grow to do it that way. So if you have these, you can see that you're still getting more lumens per watt used. So we're using like what, 161 watts for 7 of these bulbs, and we're pumping out 11,200 looms. Whereas with this big ass motherfucker right here, you're pulling 200 watts and only pumping out 10,000 looms. So you're getting 1,200 more looms by using 7 of these. You see how this is much more energy efficient and cheaper. You buy these things at Walmart. Now here they're $2.12. You can buy them online and ship them, whatever. Probably be cheaper at Walmart. You buy a box of them at Walmart, and then you buy at Walmart the little Y splitters. Then you buy the little plugs that go into the strip. I can show how to build one. It's really easy to build. One time when I'm in Walmart, I'll make a video real quick and just kind of show you the parts you can build one with. If you're just absolutely set on growing with fucking CFLs for whatever reason, why, I would have no idea, because it's going to cost you about 50 to 60 bucks to build the thing anyway. And you're still not getting as much lumens out of it, nor as much penetration. So you're going to be spending about the same amount of money. You're going to be using the same amount of wattage. You're better off just ordering this thing online and using it. But nonetheless, for those that are interested in it, I'll show how to build one of those. And it's definitely more effective than using one of these, for sure. Way more effective. I know, I've tried it, and I've grown with a homemade one of these, and it actually works pretty good, but not as good as a 150 watt bulb. Now, some people might say, what about LED? Now, LED, interesting enough, you can actually get very close per wattage used to the amount of lumens it produces. So this one is one of your best ones I found on the site. It uses 12 watts. It has a 27K rating, which is pretty good for flowering, and it produces 1,100 looms. That's actually not bad for 12 watts. It comes closest, and it comes to, by wattage used, 14,600, but you have to use 13 of these bulbs, and 13 of these bulbs, 13 times 12 is how many watts it uses. I can't remember what that is right now, but it's like 160 or something like that, 166. Anyway, so you're a little bit over the 150 mark, but you're close. The amount of looms is also close too. And with 13 of these bulbs, you can spread that out a little bit more, so you probably have a slightly bigger footprint. And the LEDs do have a good par reading, and the LEDs have pretty good penetration, so you might do okay that way. But the price range, yeah. LED light bulbs that plug into normal light sockets are expensive. You might as well just buy an LED panel that runs off of 200 watts, and you're gonna grow better with it. Versus buying 12 or 13 of these at $14 a piece. That you're talking a lot of money now, and then you have to build the way to run them all. That's going to take a couple different power strips and extension cords and all that kind of stuff. You're talking a lot of money by the time you're done. Again, probably more cheaper to just buy a 200 watt Apollo LED grow light, and that is a 200 watt true watt. You don't want 200 watt equivalent. You want a LED light panel that actually draws 200 watts. Actually, in this case, that actually draws like 180, I think. I don't think they make 151, so that draws 180 watts. But now you're talking spending a lot more money. You're talking spending $200 and up. So if you're trying to keep it cheap, again, your best way to go per lumens used and everything is going to be this right here. And if you're going to spend 200 watts on an LED panel, I guarantee you, if you spend $200 on a grow kit, like you can get a 600 watt grow kit right now. Watch this. 600 watt grow kit's going to do you a lot better for that price range. And you can see what I'm doing with my Ultimate with the 600 watt Apollo grow kit. $136 comes with this type of wing right here. You don't need the UFO thing. It's not necessary. These, I grew with those for a long time. They do great. But some of them on eBay, I don't know if they do on here, they let you actually choose the on the drop down the type of hood you want. But you can look up the UFO hoods if you want and buy a kit with the hood. Notice that if you buy it with a 1,000 watt bulb, and it comes with 2 bulbs, a metal halide, and an HPS for $208. But 600 watt, 136, so you're saving quite a bit of money. 400 watt, 124. Not really saving much money between the 400 watt, 600 watt. So if the heat's the only issue there. A 400 watt honestly produces quite a bit of heat. The 400, 600 watt produce a good amount of heat, period. 1,000 watt produces a lot more heat. But 400 and 600 watt, I didn't notice much difference in heat production. So, but it's a little bit easier to keep your tent cooler with the 400 watt. But most likely, if you're using a 400 watt, you're going to want to use some CFLs on the sides and stuff like that. Whereas with 600 watt, it's not necessary. But anyway, so notice the lumens with the HPS bulb, depending on, and metal halide bulb, and depending on what watts you're using. So if you're using a 400 watt, notice the lumens, 54,000 and 36,000. That's crazy. That's a lot of freaking lumens. And when you go to 600 watt, you're talking 89,000. And then and if you go to the 1,000 watt, look at that, 140,000. Nutso, right? That's why you get such bigger yields when you use that 1,000 watt bulb, because you're getting so many lumens. But yeah, so the difference between 400 and 600, you might as well go with the 600. You get really good yields off 600. I don't know if you can read all of that when I was doing all that, but it's just right down here. But anyway, so for full setup, $136, you're good to go. And Apollo works great. I've used it for years. I'm using it right now on my Ghetto Grow. So check out my Ghetto Grow with the Ultimate, and look how big she's getting. In fact, I'm going to go show you her really quickly. So that being said, if you're on a budget and you're trying to spend the least amount of money possible, you're just going to do a little closet grow or something like that, you're worried about heat, get one of these. You'll be fine. As a matter of fact, you probably won't even have to use AC or anything like that. Now, it depends on where you're growing it at. If you're growing in a closet in a room where the temperature is already a good temperature, make sure to grow in a cold room, and then expel the heat. Use a fan that can pull the heat out of the closet and either up into your attic or pull it down into your basement, or pull it out of the house somewhere. You don't want it just circulating the heat right back into the house, or at least circulate it into another room. Yeah, so that's the problem, is if you keep the ambient room temperature, like 70 degrees, you're going to have, this will probably raise it up maybe 5 degrees more, or something like that. So just keep good fans on your stuff, and it should be fine. But if you do it in a colder room, like a room that's 60, 65 degrees, then this little light right here isn't going to produce that much heat, especially if you expel a lot of that heat by pulling the heat out with a fan, and let's say like a induction fan, and like pulling it out of the closet somehow, and not just into the room, the same room the closet's in. You want to try to either expel it to another room or out of a window or something like that. The most effective way to do it probably is to grow with it inside of a little grow tent. You can get like a 3x3x5 grow tent, something like that, for pretty inexpensive on eBay and or Amazon. And then just put it near a window, and then have your ducking fan pull it out. 4-inch ducking fan from Home Depot, you can get it for really cheap, or on Amazon for even cheaper. And a little bit of ducking, which you can probably just buy from Home Depot for pretty cheap. Hook it up and then blow the air outside. So anyway, I'll show you guys all when I do a closet grow or a small tent grow or something like that with one of these lights. I think I'm going to do it right in a closet, because almost everyone has a closet available, and that's the absolute cheapest way to get started. Or maybe something like a closet or something. I'll probably just do it inside of a closet, to be honest. And then I'll show you how easy it is to actually keep it all cool and all that kind of stuff. Now, of course, you're not going to have the most perfect environment as far as humidity and all that kind of stuff goes. But you can probably keep the humidity under pretty decent control. But yeah, so all right, that's it. I think I covered everything I wanted to cover when it comes to CFL versus LED versus HPS. Now, LED, when you start spending more money, could be pretty good, but you still have to use a lot of them. For example, if you use a 1200 watt Mars 2, I think it pulls like 560 something watts. So it's like equivalent to using a 600 watt HPS, and you're going to get about the same weights. You're going to see like if someone grows a Auto Ultimate with a 1200 watt Mars 2 LED light, they're going to pull anywhere from 6 to 10 ounces if they're really good growers. Well, I'm probably going to pull the same amount right now. Let's go take a look at my plant real quick under 600 watt Apollo bulb, Apollo ballast, Apollo everything. And then I do have a T5 in there, but it's hardly doing anything. It's really just there to kind of splash a little bit of full spectrum lighting in there. So, all right, let's go look at that real quick, and then we'll end this video. I'm finishing the video off with my girlfriend's phone, which is the exact same phone I have. So this is just black in color. I forgot to change it. Forgot to change the mode, but anyway, so it looks all yellow. But look how huge that thing is. Look how good it's doing. Look at, she's huge. She's like 3 feet by 3 feet wide, just about. Look at all those tops. Look at all of them. There's tons of them. And they're all going to get filled in nice. And this is just a regular 600 watt Apollo. See Apollo ballast stand over there. Just using a regular fan. I'm not using an AC. Just a little heater. Tiny little dehumidifier thing over there. It's like those things are hardly use any electricity. They're very inexpensive. You can buy bigger ones for tents. That works better. That are pretty cheap too. But just actually, if you use one of the ACs, it's portable ACs, it actually works as a dehumidifier, so that keeps your tent cool when it needs to be cool. But right now, my room's the ambient temperature is so cold that in the house right now at 60 degrees, that the tent's staying at about 72, 74, 75. So yeah, actually that's why I had to put the heater in here where it doesn't drop below that. But yeah, just a little fan right there. That's only on when the light's on. It's pulling air from outside the tent to inside the tent. That way they're getting a lot of CO2, because I'm pulling air from outside where we breathe and stuff into the tent, so there's a little more CO2. All right, so that's that. Just to show you what the 600 watt will do. So yeah, when you're using LEDs, you got to think about you're using a 1200 watt. To equal this thing right here, you have to use at least a 1200 watt. Well, it's rated at 1200 watts. It has to pull about 600 watts. So you're pulling around the same amount of watts. You're not really saving electricity. It probably pulls like 588, or this one pulls like 620. So you're saving a little bit of electricity, but not much, to get the same kind of results. Anyway, so let's look at one more thing real quick before I end this out.